Hello, my name is Jaclyn Kim, and today I'm going to be talking about the different notes on the E string. The notes I'll be explaining about today are some of the most common notes on the E string, especially for a beginner. I'll be showing you where they are on the E string, but I'll also be showing you where they are placed on the music staff. The very first note on the E string is your open E. So it has this name open E. Open means that you don't have to place any fingers down on that string. So your open E, that's your first note on the E string. And on the music staff, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's on the fourth space of the music staff. Then your next note, when you place down your first finger about an inch away from the nut, if you have a full-size violin, is called F sharp. And F sharp is one note higher than E, or a whole step higher than E. So F sharp is placed on the fifth line, and that is a sharp sign. So F sharp. With your second finger, if you place your second finger a whole step away from your first finger, which again is about an inch on the full-size violin, that note is called G sharp. And G sharp is placed on top of the fifth line. Also has a sharp sign. So we have open E, first finger F sharp, second finger G sharp, and then your third finger will be a half step away from G sharp, and that note is called A. And if you know, you also have an A string, and so your third finger is an octave higher than your A string. And because we don't have any more lines on the staff, we'll add a ledger line and then a note head, and that note is called A, which is our third finger on the E string. And then finally we have our fourth finger. Our fourth finger will go a whole step away from our third finger, and that note is called B. And B is a whole step away. We add that same ledger line, but we put it on top, the note head on top of the ledger line. So these are the most basic notes on the E string. You have E, which is open string, or we also mark it as a 0. First finger is F sharp, whole step away. Second finger is G sharp, a whole step away. Third finger is A half step away. And then fourth finger is B, a whole step away from A. So if you're first learning out on the violin, this is kind of all you need to know. But if you've been studying for a little bit longer now, there are probably other notes on the E string that you've discovered or run into. So we'll talk about those. Like I was saying before, E to F sharp is a whole step away. But you could play your first finger a half step away from E, and instead of placing it an inch away from the nut, you would place it kind of close to the nut. And that note is F natural. So E, F natural, F sharp. So I moved my first finger up a half step to play F sharp. And F natural on your music would look like that. So without the sharp sign, or it might even have a natural sign. And then after that, so we play that with our first finger. After that, our G sharp second finger is a whole step away from F sharp, which means we could play a lower 2. This would be a low 1, high 1 or regular 1, low 2, and then a high 2. So the low 2 would be just a half step away from F sharp. So find your F sharp and then squish your second finger next to it and that's G natural. This is G sharp, G natural. So there's a little bit of a different sound, and that's a half step away. So G natural would look like that, and it might even have a natural sign by it. Okay, and then your third finger is already a half step away from G sharp, so you can't get any closer than that unless you're playing the same note. And then these two notes are a whole step away, so you could do a high 3, which would make it an A sharp, or you could do a low 4, which would make it a B flat. And they're both very common to play a low 4 or a high 3. It's called enharmonic notes when you have a note that sounds the same, but you can play it two different ways, or it has two different names to it. So if I played a high 3, that would be an A sharp. But if I played a low 4, it would sound the same, but it would be called a B flat. The reason why we have enharmonic notes has to do with key signatures, and that might be a little bit of a bigger topic. But sometimes in your pieces you need sharps, and sometimes in your pieces you need flats. So they'll spell it out a different way according to the key signature. So for now, we're just going to use a high 3. So a high 3 would look like that, plus a sharp sign, and then a little 3 on top. And those are all your basic notes on the E string. There will be another video talking about the enharmonic notes on the E string, which will go more in depth about the A sharp versus the B flat. And hopefully that video will answer some of your questions if you're trying to figure out which finger to use or why there are two different names for the same note. Thanks so much for watching, and if you have any more questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!